My 9-year-old got a pink treasure box from my grandmother. "For your future," it said. My mom threw it in the trash. "It's the old woman's garbage," she said. I didn't cry. I took it out and found a booklet inside. 10 hours later, the police were involved. Ruby's 9th birthday was at my house, which meant 2 things. 1, my living room looked like a party supply store exploded. 2, my kitchen smelled like frosting and panic. I'm not one of those Pinterest moms with color-coded balloon arches and matching party favors. I'm more of a, we have cake, we have candles, and nobody is allergic to anything, so we're already winning, Mom. Ruby was buzzing. She'd been vibrating since breakfast, bouncing between gifts like they were sacred artifacts. Wrapping paper everywhere. Plastic rings, slime. Those little squishy toys that somehow multiply when you're not looking. Kids running through my hallway like it was a theme park. My parents showed up. My mom and dad. With that special energy they bring to every family event. Like their presence is a favor, and the rest of us should be grateful they made room for it. My sister Rebecca was there too, with her daughter Isabella. Isabella is a year older than Ruby, 10, and looks like Rebecca's mini-me in the uncanny way some family genetics copy and paste like they're proud of themselves. Rebecca's hair, Rebecca's smile, Rebecca's "I'm used to being admired" posture. Even as a child, she carried herself like the world should adjust its lighting for her. I noticed the dynamic the moment they walked in. Rebecca didn't do anything openly rude. Isabella didn't do anything overtly mean. But the adults' attention drifted to them like a magnet. "Oh my gosh, look at Isabella. She's so mature. She's going places." Ruby got plenty of smiles too. The kind you give a cute puppy before turning back to the dog show. I told myself I was imagining it. I always told myself that. Anyway, cake, candles, singing happy birthday with too many people and not enough rhythm. Ruby made her wish, cheeks puffed, and blew out all 9 candles like she was personally defeating darkness. That's when the package arrived. It wasn't a dramatic delivery. No violin music, just a normal box placed by the door like every other package in America. But Ruby saw her name on it and lit up like someone had handed her a treasure map. "It's for me," she said, already tearing at the tape. "It's from your great-grandma," I told her, because I recognized the handwriting. My grandma, my dad's mom, had a way of writing names like she was blessing them. Ruby hugged the box to her chest for a second before opening it, like she could absorb the love through cardboard. Inside was a pink treasure box. Glittery, child magical, the kind of thing kids claim immediately with their whole soul. Ruby's hands were gentle as she lifted it out. "Mine," she whispered. Before Ruby could even properly show what was inside, my mom stepped in. Not slowly, not kindly, like someone trying to snatch a hot pan before a child gets burned. No, she said too fast. "You don't touch that." Ruby blinked. "Why?" My mom's tone shifted into her favorite mode. Practical authority, the voice she uses when she wants something to sound like common sense instead of control. "It's garbage," she said. "She sends weird things. It could be dangerous." Dangerous? Like my grandma had mailed a live raccoon. Ruby froze. Her fingers tightened around the little box. She looked at me, and I watched her joy stumble, like she'd stepped on a crack in the sidewalk. Then my mom did it. She took the entire treasure box, everything inside, the whole thing, and threw it in the trash in my kitchen. Not into some clean recycling bin. Into the real garbage. The one with the dirty stuff. The one you don't casually reach into unless you've lost something important or your dignity. Loud enough for Ruby and everyone to hear, she said, "It's the old woman's garbage." The trash lid slammed. A hard, final sound, like a door closing. Ruby froze for half a heartbeat. Then her face crumpled. confused, embarrassed, hurt. The kind of hurt kids get when the world suddenly changes rules and nobody warned them. The room went weirdly silent. Kids stopped moving. Adults glanced at each other like they didn't know what to do. Someone's kid dropped a plastic fork and nobody laughed. Rebecca didn't say anything. Isabella just watched, eyes wide but curious, like this was a show she hadn't expected and didn't want to miss. My dad stood there the way he always does, present, but not stopping her. He looked at the trash can, then at the cake, then at Ruby, like he was hoping the universe would resolve this without him having to pick a side. Ruby's eyes went to me, not accusing, not angry, just small. Like, did I do something wrong? I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't give my mom the satisfaction of a scene. I went cold and steady because Ruby was watching me. I moved my body between Ruby and my mom like a shield. Not dramatic, just instinct. Like when you step in front of your kid without thinking. Go with the kids for a minute, sweetheart, I told Ruby softly. Go show them your other gifts. Ruby hesitated, still staring at the trash like her treasure box might crawl out on its own. Then she nodded and shuffled away, trying to be brave, trying to act like she wasn't shattered. The moment she was out of earshot, I turned back to my mom. Calm and flat, I said. You need to leave. My mom laughed like I'd told a joke. Because of some garbage? You're really doing this right now? I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't debate whether humiliating my child was garbage or principle. I repeated it. Get your things. Leave. My dad's eyes flicked to mine. I could see him considering the old pattern. Smooth it over, keep the peace, don't upset your mother. Then he did what he always does. He followed her out. They left together. Rebecca stayed. Isabella stayed. The party continued, because kids don't know what to do when adults rupture the air and parents are trained to plaster smiles over disasters. But the feeling had changed. Ruby laughed less. She kept glancing toward the kitchen like the trash can was a monster. Later, when the guests were gone and it was quiet, Ruby was still off. She asked the questions that hurt. Why did Grandma throw it away? Is it bad? Does Great-Grandma not like me? I pulled her close and kept it age safe. It wasn't your fault, I told her. Sometimes grown-ups get stressed and act wrong. Great-Grandma loves you. That gift was for you. Ruby's voice went tiny. Then why did she throw it away? I swallowed the anger like a hot coin. I don't know, I said, because I couldn't say, because your grandmother thinks she owns the world and everyone in it. Not to a 9-year-old. I tucked Ruby into bed later with extra softness, like my hands could undo what my mother had done. And after Ruby was asleep, I went to the kitchen trash. I pulled out the treasure box from the dirty garbage, cleaned it off, and only then did I open it properly for the first time. Inside, I found the booklet. It had banking language. Ruby's name. The kind of paperwork grown-ups fight over. I still didn't know what it meant, only that my mom had reacted like she did. I didn't say anything out loud yet. I just put it aside and stared at it until my eyes felt dry. 10 hours later, the police were involved. My grandma is my dad's mom. That's an important detail in my family because my mother has always acted like it means everything my grandma does is optional. Optional love. Optional gifts. Optional respect. When I was little, my grandma used to send small things, birthday cards with cash taped inside, little for later envelopes. Not huge money, just the kind of careful, old-fashioned generosity that says, I thought of you. My mom always opened them first. I have one memory I can replay like a home video. I'm 10. I'm in the hallway. I spot my grandma's handwriting on an envelope. Before I even touch it, my mom's voice cuts through the air. Give it here. Not let me help. Not let's open it together. Just command. She peels the tape, counts the bills, and says, "We'll keep it safe." Like the money belongs to her the second it enters the house. When you're 10, you can't prove anything. You just learn the rules. My dad used to soften it. He'd hand me the card later and say, "Just call her, okay?" Like he was trying to keep peace in a house that didn't allow peace. He never fought my mom head on. He just tried to smooth the edges after she cut them. Rebecca, my sister, was different. She could do no wrong. If she wanted something, my mom called it smart. If I asked a question, my mom called it starting trouble. It wasn't one big event. It was 1,000 tiny moments where Rebecca got the benefit of the doubt and I got the side eye. By high school, Rebecca had become my mom's right hand. I can still picture it. Rebecca sitting next to my mom on speakerphone for bank stuff, writing down confirmation numbers like it was a job. My mom would say, "Don't worry, I handle these things." And Rebecca would nod like that was a compliment, not a warning. My dad got pushed out in quieter ways. At dinner, if Dad disagreed, my mom would cut him off with, "Ask your mother." And he'd go quiet like he'd learned silence was cheaper than a fight. As an adult, I moved out. But the pattern didn't. My mom still insisted it was easier if important mail and packages went through her. She framed it like help, like convenience. And because it's wrapped in family and help, it's hard to call out without sounding dramatic. Then Ruby was born. And I realized Ruby didn't just make me a mother. She made my mother feel entitled in a new way. Ruby became the newest lever. Let me handle it. I'll keep it at my house. I'll manage the mail. All disguised as support. Meanwhile, Rebecca had Isabella and the favoritism didn't stop at siblings. It inherited. It was subtle enough that I couldn't prove it because nobody said the quiet part out loud. It showed up in the way space got allocated. If there was one good chair, Isabella landed in it. If there was one extra slice, it drifted her way. If someone was handing out help, rides, sign-ups, I can take her for the weekend. It was always Isabella who got offered the upgrade. Ruby wasn't mistreated. She was managed. A quick smile, a pat on the shoulder, and then attention moved on like she'd already been accounted for, and I'd hear my own thoughts do the old dance. Maybe I'm making this up. Maybe I'm just sensitive. Then it would happen again. So when that pink treasure box showed up for Ruby, something clearly meant for Ruby's future. It wasn't just a gift. It was a bright, undeniable moment where my mom couldn't pretend she was being neutral. And when she threw it away in front of Ruby, it didn't feel random. It felt like the old pattern snapping into a new shape. The next morning, I dropped Ruby off like everything was normal. That's the thing about being a parent. You learn to perform stability with the same skill you used to reserve for job interviews. Ruby still looked shaken. Her eyes kept flicking to me, like she was checking whether I was okay too. "I'm okay," I told her. "You're okay." She nodded, but she didn't believe me. Not fully. Then I drove to the bank named on the booklet. I walked up to the counter and handed the booklet over like it was nothing, like I was asking about a savings account with $20 in it. "Can you tell me what this is?" I asked. The teller typed something in, and her face did that quick shift, professional mask slipping for half a second. It was subtle. If I didn't spend my whole life reading people, I might have missed it. She asked for my ID. I handed it over. She didn't tell me anything, just said, "One moment," and disappeared into the back. I waited. Too long. Long enough to consider whether I'd accidentally walked into a felony. People kept glancing over. A second employee appeared. Someone whispered. I could feel it. Something was off, and nobody was letting me in on what. I sat there trying to look calm, because I didn't want to be that woman in a bank lobby. Inside, my mind was running. Is this a scam? Did I just walk into someone else's account? Is this why my mom called it dangerous? Then the police walked in. I was still sitting there when they approached me calmly and asked to speak with me. My stomach dropped. I kept thinking, this is Ruby's birthday booklet. What did I walk into? The officer asked for my ID again. I handed over my driver's license. He looked at the photo, looked at my face, checked the document carefully, like he was making sure I was real. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. He asked basic questions, measured and practiced. Where did you get this booklet? Why did you come in today? Have you ever had an account here before? Has anyone asked you for your documents or tried to use your identity? I answered truthfully. It was in a birthday gift for my daughter, I said. My mom threw the whole thing in the trash. I pulled it out later. I came in because I didn't know what it was. The officer listened without reacting. That calm face cops have when they've already heard 50 versions of human behavior that day. Then he told me the only thing he would confirm, without giving a lot of details. The bank had flagged this as a potential identity fraud situation. Someone had been attempting to impersonate an authorized person tied to the account. Would you like to file an identity theft report? He asked. I just stared at him. Identity theft. From a child's birthday gift. My brain tried to reject it like a bad email attachment, but I heard myself say, yes. He took a brief statement, gave me a case number, and then he left. Just like that. No handcuffs, no dramatic reveal. Just a paper trail and the hollow feeling that someone had been wearing my name like a mask. The police left. I went back toward the counter. The bank staff's energy was completely different now, overly polite, careful, almost relieved, like I had passed some invisible test. A manager brought me into an office and apologized in that careful corporate way. We had to verify who you were because of activity on the account. He explained the minimum. I was listed as an authorized adult on the account, even though I didn't know it. The manager tapped the booklet and said, "This is a 529 college savings plan your grandmother opened for Ruby." The account was flagged because someone attempted actions they weren't authorized to perform. Now that they'd verified it was actually me, they could finally show me what they were allowed to show me. Then he printed a summary sheet and slid it across the desk. I saw the balance for the first time. $194,000. My first thought wasn't greed. It was shock. That's a real amount of money for Ruby's future. That's not garbage. On the printout, I saw attempted action lines, requests that were submitted and denied. And one line jumped out so hard my vision narrowed. An attempted change to the beneficiary. I read the name tied to that attempted change, and my blood went cold. I walked out of the bank in a daze, clutching the printout like it was radioactive. I didn't know whether it was my mom or my sister who pushed it through, but I knew it was family because the attempted beneficiary name pointed straight into my own life. I went home stunned and heartsick. I always knew my family was difficult, but I didn't think they were capable of trying to take Ruby's future like this. I sat there staring at the paper, realizing the betrayal isn't a feeling anymore. It has a name on it. Ruby was named as beneficiary on this account. But someone tried to change the beneficiary, delete my daughter and add my niece, Isabella. After the bank visit, I waited for updates. Nothing came. No calls, no emails, no magical resolution. Just days passing with that sick feeling that something was happening somewhere and I couldn't see it. Ruby was quiet for days after the party in a way that didn't match her. Not sulking, not dramatic, just smaller. On the third night, I found her on her bed with the pink treasure box on her lap, fingers tracing the glitter like she was trying to understand how something can be yours and not yours at the same time. She didn't look up when she asked, "Did I do something to make Grandma mad?" My chest tightened. "No, baby." She finally lifted her eyes. "Then why did she look at me like that?" Her voice cracked on the last word. "Like I was dumb." I sat on the edge of the bed and kept my voice steady. "Grandma's feelings are not your responsibility." Ruby blinked fast, trying not to cry. "But she likes Isabella." There it was, the thing kids notice long before adults admit. I took a breath. "Sometimes grown-ups have favorites," I said, careful and honest without dumping adult ugliness on a child. "And sometimes they're wrong for that." Ruby's mouth trembled. "Am I not good enough?" I shook my head immediately. "You are more than enough. You don't have to earn love with grades or trophies or being easy. You are my kid. That's already enough." She stared at the treasure box, then whispered, "So, I didn't lose?" I swallowed. "No," I said softly. "You didn't lose. And nobody gets to decide your value in my house. Nobody." Ruby leaned into me like she'd been holding her breath for days. I wrapped my arms around her and held on until her shoulders unclenched. Then she pulled back and said, very small, "Can we keep it on the shelf where they can't touch it?" I nodded. "Yes, that's exactly where it's going." 4 days after the bank visit, my phone rang. Mom. I stared at the screen for a full second before answering, like I was deciding whether to step back into a room that had burned me before. The moment I picked up, she was furious. "Did you call the police on me?" she snapped. "You told them I impersonated you." My grip tightened. "I didn't tell them anything," I said. "I brought the booklet in because Ruby's name was on it." "Don't play innocent," she snapped. "Your grandmother told me what she was sending. She told me." Then she went straight to guilt, like she always does. "I raised you," she said, voice sharp with outrage. "This is how you treat your family?" I felt something in me finally move from shock into clarity. So I asked the question I'd been avoiding, the one that mattered. "Well, did you impersonate me?" She didn't deny it like an innocent person denies something. She denied it like a person who believes denial is power. "No," she said. "I'm your mother. You wouldn't exist if it weren't for me." That wasn't an answer. It was ownership. My stomach turned. I said the one fact that mattered, the one she couldn't talk around. "Well, someone tried to change the beneficiary from Ruby to Isabella," I said. "It's either you or Rebecca." There was a beat of silence, just enough to prove she understood exactly what I meant. Then she pivoted, not to innocence, to justification. "Do you think it's fair your daughter gets everything and Isabella gets nothing?" she hissed. "I don't know how you manipulated your grandma, but it's not going to work." My voice went very calm. "So it was you?" And then my mother said the thing that still makes my skin crawl, because she said it like she was being reasonable. "You don't understand," she said. "That's her life. She is so talented. You know how expensive good education can be. You can't take it away from her. She is your niece." I stared at the table in front of me for a few seconds. "And Ruby?" I said. "It's different," she snapped. "Don't twist things." Different. I tasted blood where I'd bitten my tongue earlier in the call. I didn't even remember doing it. "Different how?" I asked. Silence. Not angry silence. Not dramatic silence. A silence that said, "Because I decided so." I clicked off. I didn't need more. I had clarity, and it hit me like grief. It wasn't just that they tried to steal money. It was that they tried to steal Ruby's future to hand it to another grandchild. That was the betrayal that cut deepest. So I did what I should have done years ago, if I'm being honest. I cut them off. Not with speeches, not with social media posts, with actions. First, I went to my bank. I had been sending my parents $200 a month. I made decent money, and I wanted to be a good daughter. It was so routine I almost forgot it existed. I canceled it. Turns out I could press cancel just fine when it wasn't wrapped in guilt. My finger hovered for a second over the confirmation button because muscle memory is powerful. Then I pressed it anyway. Next, I called Ruby's school and removed Mom and Rebecca from every pickup, emergency, and contact list. I removed their numbers like I was pulling thorns out of skin. No more help, no more openings. When I finished, I just stood in my kitchen feeling strange, numb, shaky. Like my body didn't know what emotion was appropriate for. I just ended the family I was born into. I stared at my phone thinking about calling my grandma. She was 91. I didn't want to scare her. I didn't want to add stress. I didn't want to be the reason her heart raced. I was still holding the phone when there was a knock at my door. I opened it, and my grandma was standing there. That alone shocked me. I usually visited her. She didn't come out like that very often. Next to her stood a young man I didn't recognize. My grandma stepped inside like she owned the air, small and steady. The young man followed, carrying a folder. Ruby came downstairs and froze. Then her face lit up. "Great, Grandma," she said, and ran right into her arms. They had a warm, grounding moment. Affection, reassurance, Ruby feeling chosen and loved. My grandma stroked Ruby's hair like she was smoothing something frayed. I watched it and felt something soften in my chest that I didn't realize had turned to stone. After a minute, my grandma looked at me. "Can we talk alone?" she asked. Ruby went off to play. My grandma nodded at the young man. "This is my attorney," she said, "and a good friend." He smiled politely, the way attorneys do when they're about to change someone's life. My grandma didn't waste time. "The bank called me," she said. "They told me everything." I felt my stomach drop. "Grandma, I didn't want to." She held up a hand. "You did nothing wrong." Then she said, very calmly, "I decided not to press charges." My breath caught. She continued, "It's family." And then her voice cracked just slightly. "But I am heartbroken," she said. "And I am betrayed." She looked at me like she was studying my face, making sure I understood the difference between mercy and forgiveness. "That treasure box," she said, "was only one piece of my estate." I swallowed. "Grandma." She shook her head. "I had planned to split things fairly," she said. "I believed in being fair." Her eyes sharpened. "After what your mother and Rebecca tried to do, I don't feel comfortable giving them money." She didn't shout. She didn't rage. She pronounced it like a decision. "Your mother gets nothing," she said. My mouth went dry. "Your father gets nothing," she added, and that one landed heavier than I expected. "He has watched this favoritism for years and called it peace." She paused, then said, "Rebecca gets nothing." I stared at her, shocked by the precision of it. Then she added one moral nuance that made my throat tighten. "Isabella isn't at fault," she said. "She's a child." The attorney opened the folder slightly, ready. "My attorney will set aside $200,000 for Isabella in an investment account," my grandma continued, "that Isabella can access when she is 21. She said it like she was building a fence. Generous, but controlled. Something Isabella could benefit from without her mother's hands in it. Then my grandma looked at me. "The rest," she said, "goes to you and Ruby." She took my hand. Her grip was stronger than it had any right to be at 91. "You are the only decent family I have left," she said simply. I forced a smile, wanting to support her, wanting to be strong. In my head, I was doing math. I expected maybe 300, 400,000 in savings. A lot, but not life-altering. The attorney slid a paper toward me, and I stopped breathing. It wasn't a few $100,000. It was $1.2 million planned for me and Ruby. I just stared. "Are you sure?" I whispered. That's a lot." My grandma nodded once. "Yes." Then she leaned closer. "And you will keep it secret," she said. "No fighting, no retaliation, no begging at your door." The attorney added quietly, "The paperwork is already signed and in motion." My grandma's voice went soft for the first time all day. "The truth is set in ink," she said. And I realized something. Ruby wasn't just protected. The people who chose favorites lost access. And the door my mother slammed on my child's birthday? It didn't just close. It locked. 3 years passed. No contact the entire time. Ruby was 12 now, taller, braver. Still Ruby. We lived comfortably in a nice house. Not flashy, but solid. Safe. The kind of home where you don't flinch when the doorbell rings. Except one day, there was a knock. I opened the door. It was my mom, my dad, and Rebecca. I still don't know how they found my address. They tried to be friendly like nothing happened, like 3 years of silence was a quirky misunderstanding. Their eyes drifted past me into the house. They looked around. Their faces changed. They hadn't expected me to be well off. "Where does all this come from?" my mom asked, voice tight. "That's none of your business," I said. They made small talk anyway, the way sharks circle before biting. Then they slid into it. They'd made bad money decisions. They needed a temporary loan. Just until they got back on their feet. I said no. The mask dropped immediately. My mom's face twisted. "That money probably came from your grandma. It should belong to all of us." I told them to leave. They left angry, muttering about family like it was a legal claim. Later, I visited my grandma. She was still alive and living in assisted living, sharp as ever. Ruby and I visited regularly. We were close, real close. Before I could even bring up the knock at my door, my grandma beat me to it. "They came here," she said. My stomach tightened. "Who?" "Your mother. Your father. Rebecca," she said. And the way she said it told me everything, like names that hadn't been spoken in a long time. I stared at her. "They haven't come to see you in years." She nodded, almost amused. 3 years, she said. "Not a card, not a call, not a visit. Then they see your house, and suddenly, they remember I'm alive." Ruby sat beside her on the couch, quiet and small, listening without really listening. My grandma took a slow sip of tea. "They tried to act polite," she said. "Like 3 years of silence was nothing. Like you were the one being dramatic." I felt something bitter rise in my throat. What did they want? She didn't hesitate. "They wanted to know where your money came from," she said. "And then they wanted to know if I could still change it." Of course they did. "They tried to pressure you?" I asked. My grandma gave me a look like I'd asked whether water was wet. "They tried." "And what did you say?" I asked, even though I already knew she wouldn't bend. My grandma set her cup down gently. "I told them it's in an irreversible trust," she said. "It can't be changed." She didn't sound angry. She sounded finished. Then she added, quiet and deadly, "I was planning to split everything equally once. Then they showed me who they were." I pictured them standing in her assisted living apartment, smiles too wide, hope in their eyes. Not hope for her, just hope for the money. People who couldn't be bothered to visit her until they thought there was something left to grab. "And then?" I asked. My grandma shrugged like it was weather. "They left defeated." Ruby climbed closer to her, and my grandma reached for Ruby's hand like it belonged there, like Ruby was the whole point. Ruby was the reason any of this mattered. The three of us drank tea together, quiet and happy. So what do you think? Did my grandmother do the right thing? Was it okay to cut off her son and my sister Rebecca? And was I right to accept her gifts? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more.